this would be like a Joe Biden presidency, this should be to Obama. I'm just kind of opinion right there. So if you are offended by that, I apologize. See me afterwards and we'll hash it out. We want to welcome everybody today to the event. For those that like to golf, we're taking you out of the 80-degree weather for just a moment. You have an afternoon tea time, you can still get out there. But it's supposed to be like 83 degrees today, which they said, if it gets over 81, that would be the hottest March record, or temperature in March. I'm from Las Vegas, and so this is just like November to me. So I'm excited to have this type of weather. A couple of announcements before we get to our sponsors. UAMP, the board, we're going to DC in April to do some advocacy work. We're going to represent both on the MBA side and the NAM side. So we have a delegation that will go for the NAM, which is the broker side, and the delegation going on the IMB banking side. If you have any topics or things that you're passionate about that you would like us to present or speak to with the congressmen and senators and their staff, please get with any one of the board members and let us know what those are. We would love to help facilitate some of those discussions. We will have a list that's generally put out by the state NBA and state NAM boards that we advocate for. Last couple of years, trigger lease has been a big one. So those are some of the things that we talk about, affordable home ownership. Last year, we kind of got pushed to the side because the tariffs were just happening, and the pig delegation, pig farming, they got in front of us pretty much in every meeting, so we're hoping that's not going to be the case this year. What's it? Yes, Brittany said you still hold vengeance against that. I do. Burgess Owens accepted the people from the pig, what's it called? Pork, yeah, pork industry over us.
Pig industry.
He's really not letting this one go.
Yeah, I will not let this go. We met with his staff member, and they made it act like Burgess wasn't there, and all of a sudden the pork industry walks in and he comes out of his office. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, people need homes. We can get bacon wherever we want, right? So if you have some ideas with that, please let us know. We'd love to talk about it. Any other topics that you would like to hear about in the future as well? Please see Brittany or a member of the board if there's some ideas that you have to make these meetings better, or topics that you would like to hear. We're always open to those suggestions. Additionally, if you have a company that you work for and you are a member individually, we are trying to increase our corporate membership to get more of the senior leaders to help support UAMP and the companies, the IMBs, the banks, and the brokerages here. Please help us facilitate those conversations. We'd love to have your company sign up. The plus side to that, if you are a corporate affiliate, it comes with free memberships to this every month. So maybe you can come in lieu of having to pay for your own membership. So we can save you some money that way. But any ideas around that would be great. Were you going to say 2, Chris? We don't know if it's 2 or 3. We go back and forth on
Well, Chris knows.
I think the website says 3.
You guys try to gaslight me about it.
Yeah, that is true. We're going to go with what Buckway says it's 2. All right, we want to introduce our sponsor today, which we really appreciate, Western Mortgage Services. Steve and Gabe are going to come up and talk to you. If you don't know who they are, or at least one half of the equation, then take some time to understand who they are and what they do. I got some time to speak with them before we started, and they kind of turned my mind and perception around on hard money. Coming from Las Vegas, hard money has such a bad connotation because it's kind of a filthy business, but Western Mortgage Services is doing something extremely different that helps support you and your business and your potential homeowners or even your existing clients. So we'll turn the time over to these gentlemen for the next 10 minutes.
Thank you. But we like those type of loans. We deal with mostly owner-occupied people
who happen to have really low interest rates and don't want to refi their first mortgage to a high interest rate loan. They're in trouble, they've got behind on their mortgage, they don't know where to go, they reach somebody like yourself, and there's nowhere to take them because they have a horrible FICO score. And we're the ones that will do up to 70% equity. So we solve that problem for those people. We'll do a second, so they don't have to touch that beautiful first. And then we have, it's a 30-year amortization. There's no call date. There's no, there's no penalties. It's high interest rate loans. It's high fees. They're not cheap. But the reason why they're not cheap and they're high fees is because people like me won't give my money to them unless I'm getting paid well, right? I'll put it in the stock market. So it's the motivation is two ways. It's motivational for the borrower to get a home, solve a problem, and it's a motivation for me to put my money in and invest in where I feel it's safe. So that's what we do. Gabe is the guy you'd be reaching if you have one of these borrowers. It's not one of these deals that we're paying you a referral fee. We go right by the book. It's a company that's been around for 35, 40 years. So we're pretty consistent. We don't do everybody. We look at every individual property. It's not based on credit. It is based on income if it's owner occupied up to 50%, but the flexibility of that is not nearly as rigid as you guys are running on. We can, a paycheck, we're good. It's very easy to get to the 50%, but if it isn't, we won't do the loan either. Is there any thoughts or questions you might have? Gabe will be around. Yep. He's stuck here, and I'm going to be slipping away, but that's the story of what we came here for, is to try to promote an opportunity for you to solve a problem that do come up. I've had some of the most strangest situations over the 30, 40 years. We had a woman and her husband do a normal 15-year amortization at Citywide, and I don't know if you remember it, I think it was at one of the malls. He got shot, murdered, and she got stuck with the debt, with no job, only owing a fraction of the value, and nobody could do the loan for her, and they were starting to foreclose on her. She's going to lose all her equity. Those are the type of things we can come right in, bail out the problem. Somebody's got a roof falling apart, lost a job, got 3 months behind on a mortgage. We're the ones that can fix all that stuff, and then bring it back to you, and you can do the refi later as time goes on. And we do bring them always back to the people who refer them to us. Does that make sense? Is there anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah. Caitlin, I've done a loan for as well. Where is she? She's out there. Hello. As well as Tina. And so we do all sorts of different things. I mean, realistically, credit card debts, judgments, liens, foreclosures, bankruptcies, divorces, anything like that, right? Where they can't get a second and they're screwed, we'll come in and do that second. That's really it. Any questions? Anyone? Pretty simple. Let me know if you guys have anything.
We do investment properties.
Yep.
We do owner occupancies. We do new constructions. We can do land, lot, gas stations. We've done them all.
Commercial.
Any kind of commercial you can imagine, we've come up with them all. And, it usually resolves the problem for the borrower, as best as I can say. That's it.
Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions at all. Feel free to text me or email me, whatever you need to do. And I will be here afterwards if you have questions. Thank you guys.
Thank you for coming.
It's really hard to put on these events without sponsors, so if I can just encourage you, you all have some marketing on your tables with Gabe's part on it. If you can reach out to Gabe, just give him your information or just ask some questions, get some additional insight, that really helps our sponsors feel like it's worth coming. And as Gabe has said, they've already worked with 2 UAMP members already. So there is some opportunity potentially in the future where you could use and leverage their services. So we appreciate them being here today and sponsoring and providing lunch. We'd also like to thank Security National for allowing us to use this room. We have some Security National people in the back. If you you get a chance, please stay with them. This is a really nice space, and it's really much easier than the spaces we've had in the past to schedule. But we always appreciate them opening their home to us and to you so that we can have these events. And with that, I'll turn it over to Brittany, who will introduce our speaker today.
Thank you. All right, I'm so excited for our speaker today. How many of you know Shivani or are familiar with Shivani? Only a handful. Okay, yay. I'm excited. She's excited. Okay, so I have the opportunity to introduce Shivani Peterson. I actually met Shivani about a year and a half ago. Timber held an event downtown called The Future is Female. So Shivani is the founder of that organization, that event. It helps raise money and bring awareness for building wealth and kind of creating these communities for women, which is super important. Shivani is also a top producing loan officer with over a decade of experience. She holds a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, which helps her thrive in the chaos of the family life with 3 children. She's built a team as well as a personal brand, which has led to opportunities, business growth, and the ability to create a community of people focused on achieving financial freedom using real estate. She's the founder of The Future's Female. She's also created Mind Over Markets, a coaching program for salespeople and business owners who want to provide real value instead of using old school, sleazy sales techniques. And you can count on her for unfiltered takes on the real estate market and how to best position yourself in it. So let's please give a huge welcome to Shivani Peterson.
Thank you. So I guess I really love coming to Utah because this is the 3rd time in a couple years. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? No? Mic isn't on high enough? We can play with this. Is it better? Is it working? Well, that's cool because it's like tucked into my underwear back here, so.
Okay.
Now, can you guys hear me? Oh, there we go. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay, so I do love Utah a ton, but let me take a pulse of this room because I've never spoken to this group before. Do we have anyone in the room who would consider themselves a perfectionist? Okay. Anyone here who, if you're not going to be able to do it perfect, the very first time you try it, you'd maybe just not rather do it at all? Okay? Anyone here who could be better at delegating and they know they could probably make some more money and do more business if they were better at delegating? Okay. Okay, so then I think you guys are going to like this. We're going to workshop it a little bit. So you'll either want a piece of paper, computer, something to write on. And we're going to dive into something that's a little bit of a hard truth. I mean, this is kind of going to be a tough love talk for you, but if you want to grow, then that's tough to do when you're the bottleneck of your own business. But that's okay, because you came here today, and we're going to help you unbottleneck this problem. So take a second right now for me and write down some of the problems. Maybe you were really prepared and you came here and you knew what the problems in your business are. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's scaling, but write down a couple challenges for me, aside from interest rates, because I can't help you there, that you're facing in your business right now. So my argument is going to be that whatever you're putting down on paper or typing, that all of those problems actually come back to you being a control freak or a perfectionist. And the reason they pose such a big problem in your business is that you can't scale what you won't let go of, which is how we end up in that bottleneck situation. I also have a sneaking feeling that I'm not speaking to a room full of people who need to be told to work harder. You guys probably have the hustle part down. And the reason I'm so confident saying and assuming that you have the hustle part down is because that's how every traditional coaching program in our industry has worked for years. All of those coaching programs that we basically came up in the business using and relying on are numbers games. You have to toughen up, you have to knock on enough doors, You have to make your calls. No matter how much you hate making those calls, no matter how much you hate commoditizing yourself like that, it's just a numbers game. And they're not wrong. They've built very successful businesses, the veterans in our industry, and the coaches who've made a lot of money by selling coaching, maybe not so much by actually producing and sustaining their business, but have made a lot of money selling coaching. They've proven that if you increase your capacity for people to be annoyed with you, that you'll be fine. You'll succeed in this business. The thing that I want to shift from today, and maybe you just try it on for size, is that you might have a unique value proposition that could ensure your success in this business beyond just your capacity to be shit on by people. Just beyond your capacity to be hung up on, beyond your capacity to have doors slammed in your face. There's probably something about you that is extremely unique and makes you the best lender for that client beyond just you were the one who showed up and was willing to make the calls today. The thing about that sort of accountability coaching is they want to keep limiting beliefs in place. If you continue to believe that you won't make the video unless you're in this coaching program, or you won't make the calls unless you're in this coaching program, then you will continue to need their coaching. My goal today is, why don't we just get rid of the roadblock that's stopping you from making the calls, that's stopping you from wanting to show up, that makes you feel like you don't have a unique value proposition. Because if I can help you see the forest from the trees and create some clarity here, you'll start seeing what things are going to move the needle in your business. Is anybody on board with that? Cool. So that's what we're going to get into. And a lot of what I'm going to teach you is going to seem very OCD and very particular today. And there's going to be moments where you're thinking, that might work for you, Shivani, but I'm different. I'm more of a free spirit or creative. Stick with me. I've got it. I've got the answer to that question. But I also want you to know, I'm not going to try to teach you to lean into being more of a perfectionist or more of a control freak. The reason I want to break away from that stuff is because only being okay when everything is under your control, only being okay when everything is perfect and you're winning, that is not peace. That actually leads to psychosis. Now, who am I to really talk to you about psychosis? Well, as Brittany mentioned, I just graduated from a psychology program. I have my master's in marriage and family therapy. I originally started that program because I realized how much people fight in our office over money, and that I was giving therapy to people every day and just completely unequipped to do so. So I started thinking, well, if I could help this couple that's keeping secrets from each other, or if I could help this family that's struggling with how to pass down generational wealth. You've seen that, right? Where the parents want to gift them the funds for the down payment, but they also don't want their kids to grow up to be entitled brats, but they'd love to see their grandkids running around in the back. You know, there's people have dilemmas that run pretty deep, and people are in a relationship with money that they're not always aware of. And we get to see all of the good, bad, and ugly that comes with that, right? So I started this program and thought, I'll just be better at helping people with their money. But then I found that my passion was really helping other real estate professionals with navigating this highly traumatic job. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but we get on a roller coaster every single day in this job. And when we're producing a lot of loans, we're at the top of this and we're getting the dopamine hits and everybody loves us and we feel great. And then we start over the next month, right? At the first, we start over at baseline. And on the way down, we're wondering, was any of that us? Was I just an order taker? Was it the market? Did I get lucky? Am I a complete fraud the whole way down? We question ourselves and our self-worth. And then we just take the roller coaster ride back up over and over. Normal people don't choose that kind of career. We are a special breed who can handle that and who can walk with people through one of the most stressful times of their life. We live with them during that month when they are feeling financially exposed, when they are making a... If you can sit with the feeling without attaching a bunch of meaning to it, they've actually studied this and the science shows an emotion will only last 90 seconds if you don't attach a ton of meaning to it. So take, for example, if you farted in a yoga class. I know that's never happened to anyone here. It's never happened to me. But if it had, I might be sitting there and I might start spiraling in my mind. Like, oh my God, I wasn't gonna come anyways. I had such a long day at work. Why did I show up here? Why did I eat Indian food? Only an idiot would do that before getting into downward dog. Like, everyone's gonna think that I'm terrible. Everybody can smell it. Oh, I'm never gonna be able to come back here again. Is that a realtor in the back corner? Oh my God. I could also just let the feeling of embarrassment pass and not make it define my entire existence. Because that's the crazy thing. Feelings can just be data points. The emotion that pops into your head doesn't actually have to dictate what you do next. I want you to write that down. Emotions equal data points, and then in all caps write not directives. You can notice that thought that comes into your mind, and you can choose how much meaning you want to give it. And the practical way you can practice this is the next time you do feel nervous about something, don't start telling yourself that you're nervous because you're not good enough at your job, or you don't know enough about what's happening in the market, or that you think that client's shopping you. Just notice, I felt nervous there for a second. What's my body trying to tell me? Is it trying to tell me that I should prepare for this call? Is it trying to tell me I should take a deep breath before I walk into the room? Just notice it. Don't let it define you. And is there any parents in the room? This is something we can do with our kids, you guys. I want my kids to grow up not being scared of their feelings and just being able to feel it and knowing that the only way out is through. I'll pick up my son from school some days, and he'll come walking out with his head down, and I'm like, what happened? And then he'll tell me something that maybe I would have thought is pretty embarrassing, and I want to rescue him from that feeling right away. I want to be like, oh my God, those kids are so rude, they're dumb, they're not even going to grow up to, they're peaking in 5th grade. Who wants to peak in 5th grade? Let's go get ice cream. So what am I showing him there? That feeling he has, he should get away from it as fast as possible. That's dissonance that he's feeling, and he should be scared of it. We need to solve this problem fast. I learned from Dr. Becky on Instagram, I could just say to him, oh man, what was that like for you? And go into the feeling with him. Show him I'm not scared of the feeling, so he doesn't need to be scared of it either. I could spend the 90 seconds there with him, and then we could move on. And then we have kids who have higher emotional intelligence than us. Who's on board for that? Let's practice that with them then. You didn't think you were getting parenting advice here, huh? Okay, so now that we've talked about our feelings, let's get tactical about this time mastery stuff. Because I'm sure you had big goals for 2026, and now we're wrapping up Q1. I want to make sure that you have a plan to hit all your goals by the time you leave this luncheon. Because, as I said, regardless of who you are and how unique your goals are, if we can free up your obsession with doing things just the right way and only your way, I think you will be much more likely to accomplish your goals this year. So I also understand, and it would be remiss to not talk about how heavy the world is outside and how much that impacts people. I talked about how we're walking with people through one of the most challenging times in their life, but it's also one of the noisiest times we've ever lived through, right? Like, the overwhelm is real right now. So when I talk to you about having enough time and focus to do what you need to do, I know that you are being asked to do more and more with less time every day and under a growing amount of pressure. So I'm not trying to negate that or minimize that in any way. I actually think that protecting your guys' brain space is one of the most important things I could do. Because I'm not sure if you've thought about it like this, but do you guys ever think about the role we play in America by facilitating the American dream? Has anyone here seen one of their borrowers' lives change, seen the trajectory of a family's life change because they achieved home ownership, because they know what their housing expense is going to be for the next 30 years? Did you think about that you didn't just make a difference in that family's life, but you changed like the future bloodlines for that family? Because now they have financial stability? What we are helping our real estate investors accomplish when we get creative with a non-QM loan, or when we find them a hard money resource instead of foreclosing on a property. We know the housing market drives the entire US economy, but do we ever give ourselves credit that we're the ones making it actually happen? We're the ones taking the calls at 10 p.m. We're the ones bending over backwards. We're the ones scouring the guidelines to get that family a home. It's a big deal what we do, and we deserve a lot of credit. And I think that's why I am on a mission to make sure you keep your heads right. So yes, there's big challenges in front of you, but the impacts you're making in your community by continuing to show up in this job, it's a big deal. And I want to make sure that you have the tools you need to keep doing it for the long term. The number one question I get asked all the time is, how do you do everything you do? Because I've been in grad school, I've been I mean, at any given time, I'm trying to close 20 loans a month. I have a very bare bones team of just an LOA and an executive assistant. All my kids do way too many activities. I also have a husband that I'm supposed to maintain a relationship with of some sort. Then I got a dog last year, terrible idea. That's the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life, was getting this Bernedoodle. And also, I didn't even know that I got it in Salt Lake City, actually. Anyways, this Bernedoodle has been a nonstop problem. And people, when you have a Bernedoodle, people are mean to you. Like, they think that we're ruining breeds of dogs by crossbreeding them with doodles. I didn't know, I just saw a cute picture on Instagram from a breeder in Salt Lake City. And I thought, this is a good idea. This sounds like what I need in my life as a dog. So we get this dog. These designer dogs are a problem anyways, because to keep them this certain breed, his parents are probably brother and sister. Like, this dog's got a touch of autism. He's eating his own poop all the time. I'm like, what have I done? So no, the presentation's not on making the best decisions. And also, have you ever noticed that when you have a Bernedoodle, that people treat you the same way they treat people who drive Cybertrucks? Like, they just hate you for no reason. I should have done a little bit more research. And now you can kind of tell that I'm a little bit ADHD, yeah? But I use my ADHD to lean into the hyperfocus. So for this whole presentation about time management and organizing your brain, if you were gonna check out of this talk because you're ADD and say, well, it's not gonna work for me, I'm too neurospicy, the reason I can make jokes about people having a touch of autism is because. So that doesn't let you off the hook with learning this stuff, because this system was designed for those of us who are under too much pressure, who have unpredictable days, and whose brains are a little bit crazy inside. And my time management system is about providing you with opportunities to do deep work, to do the big picture tasks, to work on your business and not always just in your business, but also when you're in your business to focus enough to do the pre-approval properly so that you don't make a mistake and we don't end up with a dumpster fire in 2 weeks. Oh, does that not happen to you guys anymore? You don't make mistakes? I'm 13 years in and I still make them. But the thing about time too is that we can get stuck in mental cul-de-sacs where we don't really see the forest from the trees, where we're circling the drain on a big decision or a super small decision. And what happens is it starts to create chaos in your head. So sometimes when you're trying to do too much with too little time, you kind of make silly mistakes. So one time I was driving to San Francisco to speak at an event for a realtor association, and the week before that, my kids are in Catholic school, which is an interesting dynamic because I'm Hindu and my husband's Christian. And so I don't always know a lot of what's going on. But I got a text on how we can execute on decisions faster, because that's the goal. We start executing at a higher level. On board? Yes? Still with me?
Yes.
Okay. So I kind of alluded to this about the world being a dumpster fire, right? And how much noise there is. And distrust has really never been higher, you know? It's not just that people are trying to tell our borrowers the American dream's dead. Has anyone seen any of those financial influencers like Ramit Sethi, who says, you should rent forever, real estate's a bad asset class? I'm like, that's because you can't afford a house in New York City, bro. That's the only reason you're saying this. But there's a lot of people telling our borrowers that it's a crazy, who would buy a house when we're at war, or that interest rates aren't coming down like they were supposed to this year. And then we've also talked about how we're dealing with people during a vulnerable time anyways, but since the pandemic, maybe even just before it, people's mental health has been trash. Like, it's been bad. People are on tilt all the time. And we hear about it when we ask for an account activity with the URLs appearing at the top and bottom of each page. So in this game that we choose to play as a career every day, we're dealing with people in an unstable world with an unstable mind during a very high stakes time in their life. But I wonder how often we think of ourselves as crisis managers, because that's really what we're doing. We are dealing with fires all the time. Sometimes I'll be about to get on stage and I'll get a message that says there's a problem with my deal that's supposed to fund tomorrow. And I've got to be able to quickly compartmentalize these things and focus on the most important task at hand, and not let the bad news get me down, stay focused. Anyone else ever relate to this in our job, that You thought you were gonna have a good day today and you had a lot to do, but then things kind of just went unexpectedly, like an appraisal came in low? If you started thinking of yourself as a crisis manager, you might start treating your brain a little bit differently so that it would perform in those situations better. Because me being able to get on stage and still give that keynote and then still solve that problem and order things properly in my head, I'm not any different than you. We're both just human beings with the same brain in here, but I don't look at my phone for at least 30 to 60 minutes after I wake up. Because I know that's flooding my brain with a lot of information when it's just trying to come online. And it seems like such a small thing, but I think of myself as a crisis manager. I think I have to be able to make decisions quickly, and not just any decision, the best decision, fast. So I treat my brain as a very, very valuable asset. And just like I work out my body, I treat my brain like a muscle that needs to be taken care of. How many of you guys look at your phone first thing? We check, even if we're not checking social media, which is gonna make us feel like shit, even if we're not checking our Teams and emails, which again, there's not a lot of jobs that require you to be all the things, except ours, and we do. So we have to learn to compartmentalize while prioritizing effectively. And I'm gonna teach you exactly how to do it, but I am gonna give you a disclaimer that as a therapist, we wouldn't do this. Therapists don't want you compartmentalizing. They want you to deal with all of it. Therapists are also not usually working in the loan business. So let's start with the basics. I use Google Calendar, and when I coach loan officers and realtors all over the country, they fight with me about time blocking. Has anyone ever tried time blocking and found that it was really hard to do in our job? Yeah, you're still gonna wanna do it though. So I was using a paper planner to do my schedule. I just aged myself a lot. And then I hired a 22-year-old assistant, and she made me get on Google Calendar, and it was really uncomfortable for me because I don't like change, but also I was like, this is a lot going on here. But you know what's cool about it, if you're trying to time block, which you are all going to start doing, is when the appraisal comes in low and you were supposed to be doing something, you deal with the appraisal and you pick up what you were supposed to be doing and you move it to later in the week, and then nothing falls through the cracks. It's really helpful also because it'll let you see what the next day is gonna look like. So real quick, we're gonna workshop again. Everybody make a to-do list for tomorrow. What you need to do tomorrow. Because today, in the middle of the day, you went to a luncheon. Tomorrow, you're gonna lock in, right? We're going through the emails. Everything's gonna get done. So make me a quick to-do list for tomorrow. How am I doing on time? Is anybody else addicted to crossing things off the to-do list? It's so good. Why is it so satisfying? But as a therapist, I actually learned that to-do lists are really dangerous things for high performers. Because, so let's say it's Sunday night. You're gonna make your to-do list for Monday, which is a therapeutic thing to do. It's called an anxiety dump. Before you go to sleep, you put all your worries onto paper. That's basically what making a to-do list is. You clear your brain. You get it out of your head onto paper. And that's great, because when you wake up on Monday, you have a plan. You know what you're supposed to be doing, and you get started right away. You start crossing things off that to-do list. It feels good. You feel like a winner. Then the day starts going. Other businesses open up, your kid's dentist appointment, title and escrow is asking you for something. A realtor has a client that even though you've trained them 1,000,000 times to please have the client reach out to you before they find the house they love, they found the house they love last night and they need to make an offer right now, and their credit score's a 592. That happens, right? And then you get a little bit distracted from your to-do list. So by the end of the day, Monday, you didn't finish everything on the to-do list. And then you don't make a to-do list for Tuesday because you didn't finish Monday's to-do list. And you go to bed feeling a little bit behind. And then you wake up on Tuesday and you're not clear, you're a little cloudy because this week's already off to a bad start, you're behind on Tuesday, you didn't finish Monday's tasks, you start to feel like a loser. Do you see how it quickly went from a positive thing to a negative thing, but you didn't do anything wrong? You just tried to do everything you were being asked of in that day? So here's the shift I want you to make. You made a to-do list. Now open your calendar for tomorrow and look at it. If you have 2 pre-approval meetings, a lunch with a realtor, and a company call, you might not have time to do everything on your to-do list. So when you make a to-do list from now on, you're gonna schedule when you're gonna do that to-do list. And when you look at the next day and there's no work time, one, that's gonna help you consider how you set up your Google Calendar for next week. Because we need time to do the pre-approvals, to coach our assistant on what needs to happen, to map our timeline and see how we're doing on our rate locks and our close dates. We need time to actually work. We can't be in back-to-back meetings all the time. So it'll start to help you manage your Google Calendar, but also when you schedule your to-do list, you'll set yourself up for success. Because you'll know, I'm gonna get this stuff done between 11 and 12. When 11 o'clock comes, you know what you're supposed to be doing, you lock in, you get that stuff done. But also, if tomorrow's not a day where you can get anything done, don't set yourself up to fail. Schedule that stuff to be done the day after. Cool? Does this make sense? Any questions? Anyone still feel very skeptical about using Google Calendar to time block? It'll change your life. Another thing that I started doing is a Sunday prep meeting. Now, if you have a partner, if you have a family, this is really clutch. But if you are single, this is an important thing to do for yourself. Look at the week ahead. See what meetings should just be an email or phone call. Look at the carpool circuit. So my husband and I try to make it fun. So on Sundays, we have wine and charcuterie, and we look at the calendar. We look at all 3 sports schedules for these kids, because guaranteed, Krish needs to be at swimming when Nick is supposed to be at baseball, while Anjali should be putting down to bed, and someone should have walked the dog by now. Otherwise, you know what he's going to do with his poop. We already talked about it. So if we can map all this out on Sunday for the week ahead, do you know what that does for me during the week? Gives me brain space to think about things that are going to make me money, to be strategic about whatever I need to do in my business, to make my content. I don't have to spend 15 minutes on Tuesday morning figuring out who's getting Krish and taking Nick and putting Anju to bed. Because Josh, when you time block, things are not going to go the way you planned. And they're not supposed to. That's the nature of our job. You will be more successful at this if you go into it knowing that. The day is going to take a turn. Someone else is going to need something of you. There's going to be an urgent jumbo lead that needs a letter right now. And you're going to take that. But you're going to pick up whatever task you were supposed to be working on, and you're going to move it to later so nothing falls through the cracks. Okay? You can be steadier in the uncertainty if you do that.
Can I ask you a question? Do you like to color time your calendar? And I do like that your green time says nails there.
They're cute. You want to see?
I'm just curious, do you like to color time your calendar or just kind of...
So they're different calendars. Like the green is the stuff, usually, like Anju's ballet, green, Krish PE. This is stuff that my husband can see too. So then like now baseball is red because it's so many hours, so many days a week. Red felt like an appropriate color. But I just, yeah, like mainly it's the colors are based on who it's being shared with, who else can see it. But you could do it however you want.
Yeah.
But that is a really cool part about Google Calendar too, is that you can share the calendars. And then, you know, your paper planner gets left on your desk sometimes, but this Google Calendar follows you you can't escape it. It's everywhere. So the next part of what I wanted to teach you guys was about retraining our brains. Because, is anyone familiar with the concept of metacognition? Yeah, I wasn't either. So in grad school, one of the coolest, most inspiring things I learned about human beings is the neuroplasticity of our minds. So this separates us from all other kinds of mammals, animals out there. Our brains literally are computers that we can reprogram, that we can rewire, that we can train to operate completely differently. What I taught you about those emotions just coming through and only lasting 90 seconds, that's metacognition. It's thinking about your thoughts, and it's the highest form of human intelligence. It ranks even higher than emotional intelligence. People who don't accept every thought that comes into their brain as fact and instead analyze, why did my brain just try to tell me that? They operate at a completely different level. And now that you know this, you are one of those people who will start considering their thoughts before you accept them as fact. But in order to get your brain at this level, we really do have to think about how much we tax our brains. Because as I was talking about with our phones delivering a lot of information very quickly, we also live in an era, I just saw the news on this, The average attention span for a millennial was like 30 seconds. It's now down to 8 seconds for the generation after us. Are they Generation X or Z? I always forget. Their attention span is down to 8 seconds because of the amount of short form content we consume. We are getting dumber by training our brains to never focus. We're always multitasking. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm walking the dog, I listen to a podcast. I have to consume more content. When I'm driving, I return phone calls to the realtors or the clients who called. When I go pee, I take my phone so I can answer Teams messages. This is out of control. I'm watching a show with my husband and it gets slow for 1 second and I check my phone because my brain can't be still. It can't be calm. We've trained our brains to be like this, and it's fraud. Like, we don't want our brains to multitask anymore. That is not on trend anymore, okay? We want to focus. We want to do the deep work. I thought about myself for a long time and how I wanted to be perceived versus how I was being perceived. And all my realtor partners were saying, Shivani's the fastest. She always gets back to me so quick. And that really made me feel commoditized because that means I have to always have my phone. I have to always answer everybody. I've got to be the quickest response. And then I started thinking, I don't want to be the fastest. I want people to think of me as brilliant. That I may not be the fastest answer, but I'm going to be the best answer. When you talk to me, I'm going to hold space for you, and you're going to feel seen, and that experience is going to leave you different than being with someone who, when you're around them, it kind of feels like you stuck your finger in a light socket. You know, those people whose energy, their frequencies are just like this all the time. We don't want to be like that. And if we don't want to be like that, we've got to stop racing all the time and focus so much on multitasking and start slowing down and being a little bit more mindful. And it's not about getting soft, guys, because I know you haven't known me that long, but I'm never going to have a soft girl era. It's just not in the cards for me. I want to use mindfulness to be sharper, to be better than my competition, to think more clearly. Do you want to do that? Okay. So in my grad school program, I learned about radical presence, which is a crazy thing, especially in today's world. So to pass your master's program for internship, where you start seeing clients, where they start trusting you with people's mental health, you study a model of therapy. I chose solution-focused brief therapy. And you study that. Most people study it for 2 years because it's a 2-year program, but I'm the Van Wilder of Capella University, so I was there 5 years. So I studied this program 5 years. And I show up to my last residency to get cleared for internship. They're going to have you, they hire these like role player actors who are going to come in with a problem, and you're going to be the therapist sitting in a fishbowl of your peers with cameras recording you and professors around to see you demonstrate your model, to see you use the mode of change in that model, the goal-setting technique for that model, the assessments that are appropriate for that model, and make a therapeutic plan, a treatment plan for that client. You spend a long time preparing for this because if you can't imagine, it's a little bit nerve-wracking that you're going to do this live, and you're not going to know what the client's problem is in advance. But when I walked in, the professor had radical presence written on the board. I was like, well, that's not solution-focused brief therapy, so now I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. He said, you guys are not going to demonstrate your models for an hour, you're going to hold space for the client for an hour. And if the client, when you try to mirror back what the client said to you, if they say, no, not really, it's more like this, then you're not passing. If they say, kinda, but it's also, that's not necessarily going to pass you. The way you're passing this is if when you mirror back to that client what they just spent 30 to 45 minutes telling you, that they exhale in relief and they say, exactly. And in that moment, I realized, I don't like letting people talk, man. I figured out what you were going to say about 5 to 10 seconds into you starting the sentence, and I'd really like you to just spit it out because I know what to tell you to do to fix this problem. I know what you're going to ask me. On a decision, you're missing important details. You're dropping the ball on some important tasks. You're not reading the social cues from the person next to you. So I actually have a really tactical framework you can use for making decisions. And this could be a big decision, like whether or not someone should help you with the carpool tonight, or this could be a decision like whether or not you should change companies. But you think you're bad at making decisions and you're not a good executor because you thought about that decision for 5 seconds on your commute this morning and you didn't have an immediate answer, so you pushed it out of your brain and you let the anxiety just sit. Or you thought about it for a second when you were going to the bathroom, but again, you didn't have an immediate answer, so you pushed it out of your brain, and then you didn't think about it again until 2 a.m., when really your brain is not operating at its best. You don't struggle with making decisions, you struggle with focus. You need to just focus on making this decision. So whatever your decision is, I want you to try scheduling 20 minutes to focus only on that decision. No multitasking, nothing else is going on. You're setting a timer in your phone for 20 minutes. And you're gonna make a pros and cons list about this decision. But it's not what your branch manager thinks you should feel about this. It's not what your spouse wants you to feel about this decision. It's your brutal honesty, your truthful pros and cons list about this choice. The odds, the risks, the benefits. No one is ever gonna see it. It's only for you. So you can be really honest about it. And when the timer goes off, you're gonna make a decision. Now, sometimes you think, there's no way I could make a major life decision in only 20 minutes. When was the last time you did only one thing for 20 minutes? When you gave it your full attention for 20 minutes? You guys, we're loan officers. We are magicians. We can move mountains with 20 minutes of focus. So when the timer goes off, you're making a decision. But here's the magic. You're not gonna execute on that decision for 24 hours. You're gonna see how it feels in your body. Now, this has been studied actually in the different genders. Women are more likely to know instantly that they're making the right decision with a gut instinct. They are more likely to have made the right decision and know it quickly. Men will more often, if they wait to execute on the decision, actually change their mind. But either way, something good comes for both genders by just sitting with the choice for 24 hours. And I'm gonna help you understand this. You're gonna start to think, one, not only am I making the right choice because of how my body feels in response to that decision, but also, is there a better way to handle it? I was coaching a loan officer in Colorado, and her LOA was on maternity leave, and her LOA was a close friend. They'd become really good friends, and this is October of 2023, where I don't know if you remember, but I'll never forget, interest rates hit 8%. So business was slow, and her P&L was in the red, and she was thinking, I don't know if I can afford to have an LOA anymore. And also, every deal is so hard, it's actually going better for me if I'm hands-on the whole time. If I'm in it with the client, making as much connection with them as possible and walking them through the whole process. But you can't fire someone on maternity leave. Not only legally from an HR perspective, but it's just not a cool thing to do. Especially not to your friend who would have to come back from work, sleep deprived with a 4-month-old at home and try to learn a new system. That's terrible. So she was agonizing over this decision and she really needed to make it soon. So I told her, we're gonna make it today. We're gonna make a decision right now in the 20 minutes we have left in this session. She started to look a little panicked. But then I told her, you're not gonna do anything with the decision. You're gonna sit with it over the weekend and we'll touch bases on Monday. She did decide that she needs to find a way to legally and in a compliant way let this girl go. Over the weekend, she was sitting with the decision and she felt sad because her body knew it was the right thing to do. But then she started thinking, there's another branch in her company, in her town, that was doing a lot of volume still because they had 5 loan officers there. They use all the same systems. She reached out to them and said, do you guys need an LOA? And they were like, we do. And she's like, oh my God, I found her a place to go where all the systems are the same. She won't have to learn anything new on a new mom brain. Because she made the decision, she found a better way to execute on the decision. And that's where you really start executing at another level. And that was my goal for you guys, is that we start thinking of our brain space as one of the tools in our tool belts. And that we learn to not manage our time, but to master our time so that we can have more clarity and not be busier, but be sharper. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. While Chris is making his way up, the key is to sit up front. Does anyone have any questions for Shivani? Because we do have a few minutes left, so if you want to pick her brain, I hate that saying, but that's what I've got right now, and ask her anything about how she does all of the things she does. Now's your chance. No one has any questions.
Has anyone seen Bueller? Anybody?
Okay, was that helpful?
So this is a free thing, my circle online. It's just, I'm trying to get off social media. And so I created an online circle space instead. It's kind of like school or Facebook groups. But I put out a lot of content there. It's all completely free. There's tons of lenders all over the country who are there. One of the things I do is I send a newsletter every Friday to my clients. So a lot of people in the circle, they'll take my newsletter, they'll plug it into ChatGPT and say, make this less snarky. And then they send it to their database.
You can sound like me.
I'm glad you brought that up because I get that newsletter and it's awesome. Like, it's super helpful, it's very well put together, it's super, I didn't think about putting it in the ChatGPT and making it my own, but maybe I'll start doing that so that I can consistently do a newsletter now. So.
Do it.
Perfect. Okay, any other thoughts? Does everyone time block? Am I the only one that hates time blocking?
Not anymore, you don't?
I'll be calling you because I've tried. I'm gonna give it my best effort. And so my question is, when you move it, like what happens if it just keeps moving?
So then you need to analyze, because a part of what I said is the self-reflection that comes with looking at when you're doing things, when you're succeeding and when you're failing. If you have moved a task every day for 2 weeks, is that task the best use of your time? Is it out of alignment with your